Before we dive into today's story, if this is your first time watching one of our videos, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Stick with us till the very end. And if this story moves you, share your thoughts in the comments and send it to a friend who needs to hear it. Now, let's begin. The email arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning while Marina Cole was kneeling beside the kitchen table, trying to keep her 3-year-old daughter from feeding strawberry yogurt to a stuffed giraffe. Little Rosie was deep in her pink phase, which meant the plate was pink, the cup was pink, the spoon was pink, and Marina herself had been informed, very firmly, that wearing black pajamas was not allowed today. Rosie sang a made-up song about unicorns while yogurt smeared her chin, her small legs swinging happily beneath the chair. Marina smiled despite herself, balanced her phone in one hand, and wiped Rosie's face with the other. The subject line alone made her stomach tighten. Dad's 65th birthday dinner. Important. Marina sighed before even opening it. Any message from her brother Ethan that included the word important was never actually important. It was just his way of demanding attention. She opened the email anyway. Family, it began impersonal and stiff. Ethan announced the dinner details like a royal decree. Saturday night, 7 p.m., formal attire, upscale restaurant. Then came the line Marina already felt in her bones before she read it. This will be an adults-only event. Please do not bring children. We want a refined evening without distractions. Marina read the sentence twice, then again, feeling something cold settle in her chest. Rosie laughed and clapped beside her, blissfully unaware that, once again, she had just been labeled a problem. Marina lowered her phone slowly and looked at her daughter, who was now trying to spoon yogurt into the giraffe's stitched mouth with great concentration. Rosie was happy, loud, curious, and impossibly gentle all at once. She was Marina's whole world, and apparently her family's greatest inconvenience. Marina didn't need the email spelled out. She was a single mother. Everyone knew that. She didn't have a partner to drop Rosie off with. She didn't have a nanny or a magical emergency babysitter waiting on standby. Her parents knew this. Ethan knew this. Her sister Clara knew this, which meant the invitation wasn't really an invitation at all. It was a polite way of saying don't come. Her phone buzzed almost immediately. A text from her mother. Marina, you saw Ethan's message. We really hope you can make it. Maybe you can find someone to watch Rosie. Marina stared at the screen, then typed back carefully. 3 days' notice on a Saturday night isn't realistic. The reply came faster than expected. Well, your father really wants a nice evening. No chaos. You understand, right? Chaos. Marina closed her eyes. Her daughter, who said thank you unprompted and whispered to her toys, was chaos. Rosie tugged at her sleeve. Mama, look. Giraffe eating. Marina forced a smile. Wow, sweetheart. He must be hungry. Inside, something old and painful stirred, an ache she thought she'd learned to ignore. The messages didn't stop. Ethan chimed in next. Why are you making this difficult? It's one night. Figure it out. Then Clara followed with a voice note that Marina didn't even bother playing twice. Come on, Marina. Normal people get babysitters. It's Dad's birthday. Normal people. Marina felt her jaw tighten, as if motherhood had somehow stripped her of normalcy, as if loving her child made her inconvenient, embarrassing, excessive. She didn't respond right away. She finished breakfast instead, cleaned Rosie's hands, tied her curls into 2 uneven puffs, and listened to her chatter about unicorn schools and pink clouds. Only when Rosie was happily coloring did Marina type one sentence into the family group chat. I won't be able to attend. I hope Dad has a wonderful evening. The reaction was instant. Ethan accused her of being dramatic. Clara said their father would be hurt. Her mother begged her not to do this. Marina muted the chat. A few minutes later, her phone rang. She almost let it go to voicemail. Almost. Marina, her father's voice said, sharp and disappointed. Your mother tells me you're skipping my birthday dinner. Marina swallowed. I can't get childcare on such short notice, and the invitation said no children. There was a pause, then a scoff. Then find someone. You're an adult. Ever since you had that child, everything is complicated. Why can't you just be normal for once? That child. Marina closed her eyes. Her name is Rosie, she said quietly, and she's your granddaughter. Silence followed, heavy and uncomfortable. Then her father spoke again, his voice colder. She's the result of a bad choice. A man who walked away. And now everyone is expected to rearrange their lives because of your mistake. The word mistake landed like a slap. Marina felt heat rush to her face, but her voice stayed steady. I'm not asking anyone to rearrange anything, she said. I'm simply declining an invitation I can't accept. He exhaled sharply. If you don't come, don't bother showing up for a while. I'm tired of the excuses. Tired of you hiding behind that child. Marina looked across the room at Rosie, who was humming softly as she colored, completely safe in her small world. I'm not hiding, Marina replied. I'm protecting my daughter. She didn't wait for a response. She ended the call. Rosie looked up. Mama's sad. Marina crouched beside her, brushing yogurt from her cheek. No, baby. Mama's okay. She kissed Rosie's forehead. We're going to have our own special dinner on Saturday, with people who love us. Rosie smiled. Pink dinner. Marina laughed softly. Yes, pink dinner. As she stood, a quiet resolve settled over her. If her family wanted an exclusive celebration without her child, then she would create something better on her own terms. That morning, Marina made 3 phone calls that would quietly change everything. The first was to Senator Julian Cross, a man she had worked with years earlier when she was still deeply involved in education policy. He answered on the second ring. Marina Cole, he said warmly. It's been too long. How's my favorite little person? Marina smiled. Rosie's wonderful. Actually, that's why I'm calling. Are you free Saturday night? There was a pause, then a chuckle. For you? Always. What's the occasion? Marina glanced at Rosie, who was now lining up crayons by color. I'm finally taking you up on that dinner you promised years ago, and I could use your support. Say no more, he replied. Count me in. The second call was to Alessandro Moretti, owner of the most elegant restaurant in the city. Marina had once helped his son secure a scholarship abroad. He owed her a favor. I need a private table Saturday night, she said calmly, and discretion. Alessandro didn't hesitate. Consider it done. The third call was to her attorney. That board position you mentioned, Marina said evenly, is it still available? There was a pause. Yes, the lawyer replied. Why? Marina watched Rosie laugh at her giraffe. Because Saturday night, she said. I'm done being invisible. Saturday arrived faster than Marina expected, and instead of dread, she felt strangely calm. She dressed Rosie in her favorite pink dress, the one with tiny stitch stars, because Rosie loved it, not because it was fancy. Marina herself wore a simple navy dress, elegant without trying too hard, the kind of outfit that didn't beg for approval. When Senator Julian Cross arrived to pick them up, Rosie ran straight into his arms. Uncle Jules, she squealed, and he laughed, lifting her easily. There's my smartest girl, he said warmly. Ready for dinner? Rosie nodded seriously. I say please and thank you. Marina smiled. The restaurant was already buzzing when they arrived. Alessandro met them quietly at a side entrance and led them to a secluded table with a clear view of the main dining room. Marina immediately saw her family at the center table. Her father Harold, her mother Diane, Ethan, Clara, and a collection of friends and relatives. Laughter echoed loudly. Wine glasses clinked. No one noticed Marina. That was fine. Dinner unfolded peacefully. Rosie colored. She ate chicken, She told long stories to anyone who listened. Senator Cross leaned toward Marina at one point. "You know," he said softly, "you don't look like someone who's struggling." Marina didn't answer right away. She just watched her daughter smile. "I never was," she said finally. "They just decided I was." At exactly 7:45, Alessandro approached Marina's table and asked quietly, "Are you ready?" Marina nodded once. The lights dimmed slightly, just enough to draw attention, and Alessandro's voice carried across the room. "Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we are honored to welcome Senator Julian Cross and his guests." Heads turned. Murmurs spread. Marina's father frowned in confusion. Alessandro continued calmly. "Senator Cross is dining with Marina Cole and her daughter, Rosie." Diane froze. Harold's face drained of color. Senator Cross stood, holding Rosie in his arms, and Marina rose beside him. The dividers shifted, revealing them fully. Applause rippled through the room. Senator Cross smiled politely. "Mr. Cole," he said as he approached Harold's table, "your daughter is an extraordinary woman. Her work in education policy has impacted thousands of children. I'm proud to work alongside her." Harold stammered. "I didn't know." Marina spoke evenly. "You didn't ask." She placed 3 folders on the table: board appointment, promotion letter, book contract. "All of this happened while you pretended Rosie didn't exist." Diane whispered, "We thought you were just managing." Marina shook her head. "I was building. Quietly. Without your approval." Rosie waved. "Hi, Grandpa." The word landed harder than any accusation. The room was silent. Ethan cleared his throat. "We didn't mean to exclude you," he said weakly. Marina looked at him. "You wrote no children knowing I had no choice." Clara's voice cracked. "We were wrong." Marina nodded. "Yes, you were." Senator Cross shifted Rosie gently. "I'll leave you to your evening," he said. "But I'll say this. Anyone who calls this child a mistake doesn't understand the meaning of legacy." He walked back with Marina to their table. As they sat, Alessandro brought out a small cake. "Happy birthday," he said loudly, "to Marina Cole." Harold's mouth fell open. Diane whispered, "We forgot." Marina didn't look angry. She looked free. They finished dinner quietly and stood to leave. Diane rushed over. "Please," she said, tears in her eyes. "Can we try again?" Marina paused. "Maybe," she said honestly. "But if you want to be in Rosie's life, you earn it." Harold nodded stiffly. "We will." Marina didn't promise anything. She didn't need to. The rebuilding didn't happen overnight. It started with coffee between Marina and Diane, then a park visit, then a short dinner at Marina's apartment. Boundaries were firm. Respect was required. Rosie decided everything else. Slowly, awkwardly, her family learned how to show up without conditions. Months later, Harold handed Marina an envelope. "For Rosie," he said quietly. "College fund." Marina accepted it, then met his eyes. "One mistake comment," she said calmly, "and we're done." He nodded. "Never again." Time passed. Rosie grew. Marina's career flourished. The family changed, not perfectly but genuinely. One evening, years later, Marina picked Rosie up from her parents' house. Harold hugged her. "I'm proud of you," he said simply. No qualifiers. No conditions. Marina believed him. On Marina's birthday, shared with her father, a cake sat on the table with 2 names written side by side. Rosie helped blow out the candles. As they drove home later, Rosie asleep in the back seat, Marina reflected on everything that had shifted. She hadn't demanded love. She had demanded respect. The love followed. Her phone buzzed. A message from Senator Cross. "Happy birthday. You built something strong. Be proud." Marina smiled, turned off the screen, and drove through the city lights toward home. Her life wasn't perfect. Her family wasn't flawless. But she was no longer invisible. She was seen. She was heard. And most importantly, her daughter was loved, fully, fiercely, without apology. That was enough. Always had been. Life did not magically become perfect after that birthday, but it became honest, and that made all the difference. Marina noticed the change in small moments first. Her mother called just to ask how Rosie's day had been, not to give advice or criticize. Her father showed up early to pick Rosie up from preschool one afternoon and waited patiently, sitting on a tiny plastic chair without complaint. When Rosie ran into his arms, he looked stunned, as if he still couldn't believe he was allowed this closeness. "She likes you," Marina said quietly from the doorway. Harold nodded, his voice thick. "I know. I'm trying to be worthy of it." One evening over dinner, he cleared his throat. "I need you to understand something," he told Marina. "I spent years measuring success by how impressive it looked to other people. You stopped caring about that. I mistook that for failure." Marina didn't interrupt. "You didn't fail," he continued. "You outgrew us." Marina sat back, absorbing the words. "I didn't outgrow you," she replied. "I just refused to shrink." Diane reached for her hand across the table. "We see you now," she said softly. "Not the version we wanted, but the woman you actually are." Marina nodded. That was all she had ever wanted, to be seen without needing to perform. As Rosie grew older, the story of that restaurant night became something softer, less about confrontation and more about choice. One afternoon, while drawing at the kitchen table, Rosie asked, "Mama, why didn't Grandma know me before?" Marina paused, then answered honestly, "Because sometimes grown-ups let fear make bad decisions." Rosie frowned. "But they know me now." Marina smiled. "Yes, they do." That mattered. Marina's career continued to expand, meetings, hearings, late nights. But she never felt like she was choosing between success and motherhood. Rosie sat beside her during video calls, waved at legislators, colored quietly during strategy sessions. "She's always welcome," colleagues said, and they meant it. One evening, Senator Cross joked, "She's the youngest policy consultant I know." Marina laughed, but she knew it was more than that. Rosie was growing up surrounded by proof that a woman could set boundaries and still be loving, that family could be rebuilt, that respect was not negotiable. At a school event, Harold watched Marina speak confidently to a room full of parents and teachers. He leaned toward Diane and whispered, "We almost lost her." Diane squeezed his hand. "We did lose her," she replied, "and then she let us find her again." Years later, on another shared birthday, Marina stood in her parents' backyard watching Rosie, now older, taller, still endlessly curious, laugh with cousins under string lights. A cake sat on the table with 2 names written equally large. Harold came to stand beside her. "You know," he said, "I used to think pride came from control." Marina glanced at him. "And now?" He smiled faintly. "Now I know it comes from letting go." Marina felt something settle in her chest. Not triumph, not vindication, but peace. She hadn't won anything. She had simply refused to disappear. She had chosen herself, chosen her daughter, chosen a life that didn't require permission. As the candles were lit and Rosie called out, "Make a wish, Mama!" Marina closed her eyes briefly. She didn't wish for approval anymore. She didn't wish to be understood by everyone. She wished only for what she already had: the strength to stay visible, the courage to protect her child, and the wisdom to build love where it could grow safely. When she opened her eyes, Rosie was smiling at her, and her family was singing imperfect but sincere. Marina smiled back, knowing this ending wasn't dramatic, but it was real, and that, finally, was more than enough. Time moved forward the way it always did, quietly, without asking permission. But Marina noticed how different it felt now. Mornings were still busy, still loud, still filled with spilled cereal and missing shoes, but they no longer carried the weight of feeling judged or unseen. Rosie grew into a child who asked thoughtful questions and spoke with confidence, a confidence Marina recognized as something learned rather than inherited. One evening, as Marina tucked her into bed, Rosie asked, "Mama, why do you always say no when you mean no?" Marina smiled, smoothing her daughter's hair. "Because saying no protects the things that matter," she said gently. Rosie considered this, then nodded as if filing it away for later use. Marina realized then that the greatest lesson she was teaching had nothing to do with policy or success. It was about self-worth, about boundaries, about never allowing love to be conditional. Across town, her parents talked differently now too. They corrected friends who spoke dismissively about single mothers. They bragged openly about Marina's work, but more importantly about the kind of mother she was. Marina didn't need the praise, but she noticed the shift. It wasn't performative anymore. It was real. One afternoon, while watching Rosie rehearse a small school performance, Marina felt a familiar presence beside her. It was Harold. He didn't speak at first, just watched his granddaughter stand tall on the stage, reciting her lines without fear. "She's fearless," he said quietly. Marina didn't respond right away. "You know," he continued, "when you were young, I used to worry you were too strong, too stubborn." He smiled faintly. "Turns out that was your greatest gift." Marina exhaled slowly. "I needed to be strong," she said. "No one was going to do it for me." Harold nodded. "I know that now." When Rosie spotted them in the audience, she waved enthusiastically. Marina waved back, her heart full. This moment, this ordinary, unremarkable moment, was everything she'd fought for. Not recognition, not revenge, just presence, just belonging without cost. Years later, Marina would sometimes think about that first dinner she hadn't attended, the one that tried to exclude her and her child. She no longer felt anger when she remembered it. Instead, she felt gratitude. Gratitude for the clarity it gave her. Gratitude for the line it forced her to draw. Without that moment, she might have spent years bending herself smaller, apologizing for taking up space. Instead, she had built a life where her daughter never questioned her worth. Rosie grew up knowing she was wanted, protected, celebrated. Not because she fit into someone else's expectations, but because she existed. Marina watched her daughter step into the world with confidence, and she knew the cycle had been broken. Not with shouting, not with ultimatums, but with calm refusal, with self-respect, with love that did not negotiate its value. On a quiet evening years later, Marina stood at the window of their home, watching Rosie laugh with friends in the yard. Her phone buzzed with a message from her mother. "Thank you for trusting us again." Marina typed back simply, "Thank you for doing the work." She set the phone down and smiled to herself. She hadn't demanded perfection. She had demanded effort, and that had changed everything. Marina knew now that strength didn't always look loud or dramatic. Sometimes it looked like a woman feeding her child breakfast on a Tuesday morning, choosing dignity over approval, and building a future one firm boundary at a time. She had not been rescued. She had rescued herself, and in doing so, she had taught everyone around her how to love better. The story didn't end with applause or celebration. It ended with peace. And for Marina, that was the greatest success of all. Like and subscribe to my channel for more contents like this, and let us know where you are watching from under the comment section.